Agara Mudale Edithellam Adi Bhagavan Mudatre Ulagu. This is the first couplet from the monumental Tamil literature Tirukkural, wherein Saint Thiruvalluvar, he indicates God Almighty is the primordial and indispensable cause, like the first letter A of all languages, for the growth and sustenance of all sentient and insentient objects, as well as the static and dynamic ones in this universe. I welcome you all for this national level virtual conference on strategies and recommendations for the implementation of National Education Policy 2020. My name is Captain K. Karthik. I'm the Dean of the Nautical Science and also the Vice Principal for DGS courses here in AMET University. To say that I am thrilled today would be an understatement. The reason is we have the doyens of higher education with us who are going to speak about 6 different themes about a policy that proposes to renew and revamp all aspects of education, including the recognition and governance, to create a new education system that will be aligned with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, including the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which is quality education, and all these things keeping up in mind, building up with the Indian tradition and value systems. It's none other than the National Education Policy 2020. On that note, it gives me immense pleasure and delight to welcome the participants, the speakers for the inaugural session. To begin with, I would like to welcome our Chancellor, Dr. J. Ramachandran sir, who will be delivering the presidential address. I would like to welcome our Vice Chancellor, Honorable Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam sir, who will be delivering the introductory remarks to this inaugural session. I'd like to welcome Honorable Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, Advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, Bengaluru, who is the chief guest for the inaugural session and will be delivering the inaugural address. And also, I'm delighted to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Manali V. Shankar Madam, the Vice Chancellor of Indian Maritime University, who will be delivering the special address to this inaugural session. Now, I am pleased to introduce our Honorable Founder and Chancellor, Dr. J. Ramachandran, to the distinguished participants of this national level conference. Our Chancellor is an educationist, philanthropist, social worker, and an industrialist. He is the founder president of the New Era Association of Educated Self-Employed Youth, promoting empowerment of educated youth since 1974. He has promoted employment opportunities for more than 150,000 unemployed youth, of whom more than 20,000 have been provided with permanent employment in India during the past 4 decades. He has been bestowed with several national and international laurels. To mention a few, recognizing his entrepreneurial acumen and edupreneurial efforts, he bagged the Edupreneur Year Award in the year 2013, awarded by the Times of India. He also was awarded with the Award of Excellence from the National Maritime Day Committee, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India in the year 2008. And also recognizing his meritorious service rendered to the global shipping industry, he was bestowed with the Lifetime Achievement Award 2017 from the World Shipping Forum. Above all, York St. John University, UK had conferred on him the doctorate degree honoris causa in the year 2010, recognizing his efforts to empower the educated unemployed youth and providing them with the much needed entrepreneurial skills. Now, I welcome our Honorable Founder and Chancellor, Dr. J. Ramachandran sir, to deliver the presidential address. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Karthik.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Dear Vice Chancellor Dr. Thiruvasakam, respected Dr. Ponmudi Raj, and my advisor NAC, beloved and respected Madam Dr. Malini Shankar, Vice Chancellor of Indian Maritime University, and other participants. I am happy that our university has organized a national level conference on National Education Policy 2020. Moreover, I appreciate the Vice Chancellor and the organizers of the conference for inviting eminent speakers and well-experienced Vice Chancellors of the different parts of India to deliver theme address. AMET University has successfully completed 27 years in providing globally competent quality education, especially in the maritime education. I am very proud to inform that I have started this organization as a training institute with mere 14 students in 1993, which has grown up and elevated as an university having about 4,000 students at present. I can very confidently and authentically share with you that AMET is the leader in maritime education in India, and it has been proved in the global level as well. As the accreditation given by the IAMU, International Association of Maritime Universities, AMET stands third rank among all the maritime universities of the world, both in teaching and research. I would like to pass on the credit to my faculty, International Maritime Organization, Director General of Shipping, UGC, AICTE, and NAC, who have extended help and support to raise the university globally meritorious. Now, I want to speak briefly about the National Education Policy 2020, which has given new facelift to the education of India in general and higher education in particular. Advantage of new education policy 2020. The government aims to make schooling available to everyone with the help of NEP 2020. Approximately 2 crore school students will be able to come back to educational institutes through this new approach. One of the merits of NEP 2020 is the formation of National Book Promotion Policy in India. Special daytime boarding school, Bal Bhavans, to be established in every state district in India. This boarding school will be used for participation in activities related to play, career, and art. By 2022, in consultation with teachers and expert organizations, NCERT, SCRTS, the National Council for Teachers Education, will develop a common national professional standards for teachers. According to the National Education Policy 2020, an academic bank of credit will be established. The credits earned by the students can be stored, and when the final degree gets completed, those can be counted. For making the students prepared for future pandemic situations, online academic will be promoted on a larger scale. I would like to mention some of my views about the drawbacks of the new education policy. In the National Education Policy 2020, language is a negative factor as there is a problematic teacher to student ratio in India. Thus, introducing mother languages for each subject in academic institutes is a problem. Sometimes finding a competent teacher becomes a problem, and now another challenge comes with the introduction of the NEP 2020, that is bringing study material in mother languages. According to the National Education Policy 2020, students willing to complete their graduation have to study for 4 years, while one can easily complete his or her diploma degree in 2 years. This might encourage the people to leave the course midway. To conclude, there are merits in the national education policy. At the same time, there are hurdles to implement the policy as well. Hope that the conference of today will bring out ways and means to implement the policy successfully. I wish the conference every success. I wish every participant to actively participate and deliver the address. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your presidential address is well received, and it is very encouraging for us to proceed with the rest of the proceeding. May I now take the pleasure of introducing our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam, sir. Our Vice Chancellor, Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam, has over 5 decades of academic and administrative experience in higher education. He has served as a Vice Chancellor of 2 state universities, that is Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, and University of Madras, Chennai. He is one of the senior most serving Vice Chancellor of Indian universities, having 16 years of service as Vice Chancellor. He is a postdoctorate from University of Southampton, UK, with British Council UK Fellowship. He has authored 17 books and published 49 articles in peer-reviewed international journals. He served as a member in the Central Advisory Board for Education, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, Government of India. He has also received National Award of Government of India in the year 1993 from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, then President of India, for his exemplary service to the humanity. Now I'd like to call upon our Vice Chancellor to deliver the introductory remarks to this inaugural session. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Captain Karthik. Good morning to every one of you. Honorable Founder and Chancellor of AMET University, Dr. J. Ramachandran, most respected Dr. Ponmudi Raj, Advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, beloved and respected Dr. Malini Shankar, Vice Chancellor of Indian Maritime University, eminent academic experts and esteemed Vice Chancellors who are going to deliver the theme address today, and dear participants. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. O.R.S. Rao, the Vice Chancellor, and Vice Chancellor Dr. Professor Kaliraj of Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, for their kindness in making their presence during the inaugural session itself. Dear participants, there are 3 vital reasons which made us to call for this National Educational Policy 2020 conference. Firstly, all the Vice Chancellors have received a communication requesting us to organize a conference on National Education Policy as an earlier date. Secondly, another communication received by us to implement the National Education Policy 2020 now itself. Thirdly, all of us are in a confusing condition that when we are in a pandemic situation like this, how we are going to implement the National Education Policy with the real spirit and content. That made us to think about why not we call for a national level conference to make the people understand the special feature of the policy and draw some inference along with the possible devices for implementation by involving experts from different parts of India. Basically, when we have made a selection of speakers today, we have made it involving Vice Chancellors of different universities having different background of their organization. Yes, we have the Vice Chancellor of Central University, We have the Vice Chancellor from Arts and Science University. We have a Vice Chancellor from Professional University offering engineering programs. We have a Vice Chancellor from Sector Focusing University, Indian Maritime University. We have a Vice Chancellor from universities like Management and Hospitality. Likewise, we have Vice Chancellors from various disciplines as well. I am very much confident that all these eminent speakers, when they are going to deliver the theme address, would certainly bring a lot of inputs for all of us, which will make us to understand clearly both advantages and the scope for implementing the policy as well. The purpose of calling this conference is exactly to advocate national education policy and complement national education policy. There is no possibility of making any comments or criticism against the policy. Yes, we will be discussing in detail about the difficulties what we are going to encounter, how we can overtake the difficulties, how we can make the policy to be taken very easily and possibly by all the stakeholders of higher education. My dear friends, we have been reading, listening various addresses on the national education policy, starting from our ever vibrant and dynamic Prime Minister of India, Dr. Narendra Modi ji, continued by all the top executive officials of our apex bodies like MHRD, University Grants Commission, AICTE, DGS, NAC, and so on. Besides, Dr. Kastur Rangan, the architect of this policy 2020, since the policy was introduced in July 2020. Hundreds of deliberations are being taken place in various platforms, in various education institutions, in the form of conferences, workshops, seminars for the last couple of months. As a matter of fact, I found and find more than 90% of the people speak about the various salient features of the policy and invariably pay encomium and advocate the policy totally as well. Yes, I do agree. Not only 90% and 100%, the new education policy is rare treasure to the Indian education system. I can very well commend and appreciate India is going to have another revolution, that is education revolution, after successfully enjoyed the industry revolution, green revolution, white revolution, technology revolution, etc. Because the policy is aimed at transforming India's education system into modern, progressive, and equitable one. It focuses on improving poor literacy and numeracy outcomes, reducing the dropouts in the schools, and introducing multidisciplinary approach in the higher education. As a matter of fact, there are exemplary features in this policy which we never thought during the previous periods of national education policy. For an example, it's the first time in the history of India, 6% of GDP has been allotted, or rather to say, planned to invest for the upliftment of education in India. It was yearly only at a maximum of 4.3% of GDP. Friends, at this juncture, I would like to trace the history of Indian education policy. In 1964, a 17-member education commission headed by then chairman of the University Grants Commission, Dr. Kothari, was constituted to draft a national and coordinated policy on education. Based on the recommendation of the commission, Parliament of India passed India education policy in the year 1968. Unfortunately, the values, the concepts, the perceptions, what we found in the very first education policy have not taken care of by the previous education policies which was brought out in 1986 and 1992. At the same time, we should appreciate Dr. Kasturi Rangan that he has given few suggestions of Dr. Kothari Commission of 1964 in the National Education Policy 2020. They are access, equality, and quality as well. Moreover, vocational education, listening through mother tongue, and these things we found really very interesting, impressive, and we have to thank the architects of national education policy. Friends, now I would like to take a few more minutes to share some of my personal views about the changes what made in higher education because of this national education policy. At the same time, how we are going to see as a challenge, existence of challenge when we implement the changes. To start with, it has been given 50% cross enrollment ratio to be achieved by 2035. Really, it aims to cover at the most maximum number of eligible students of India to come to education. We have to appreciate. Whereas when they give this kind of proposal, proportionately, I am able to read another proposal, that is the undergraduate courses are going to be for 4 years instead of 3 years in arts and science. That is a major hurdle right now. India is a country having a population of 32% below the poverty line. Even now, after the independence of several decades, we are not able to attract the eligible students of India to come to the school education, that too to come to the higher education. When we think about increasing one more year of in the graduation, certainly instead of increasing the GRE, then GAR, there is going to be a standstill, I am afraid. Moreover, there is another proposal. This policy tells there is going to be a national testing agency. That agency is going to conduct common entrance tests for the students who are opting for higher education. That is also a major hurdle. For an example, now taken for granted, the NEET is being organized throughout the India. How it is not able to give expected result to the people from rural and the people of first generation. When it is a case, certainly it will not reach to the level of 50% as planned in 2035. That kind of contradiction should be think over, and required things must come. What is better, when we think about certain things, the decision should not come from top to bottom. The decision should come from bottom to top. Then we can understand the ground reality and invite students to the educational institutions. Friends, another proposal change, midterm dropouts from colleges will be given credit transfer facility. Moreover, there is an option given to the students. They can leave during their study of their undergraduation by getting diploma, post-diploma like that. As vice chancellors and experts, we know pretty well. We have introduced CBCS, choice-based credit system, almost 20 years ago. Even now, I am very much confidently share with you that CBSE system is not properly implemented in all the education institutions, especially in government institutions and government colleges, because of lack of infrastructure, lack of required facility as well. When we are behind in implementing CBCS, that is permitting cross-border entry from one department to another department, how we are going to have these students all going in the middle of the course, and sometimes they will be permitted to other universities as well. That is my doubts. One more thing, permitting foreign universities to launch their campuses in India. It is a welcome feature. Then only the globally competent quality can be ensured in the campuses or in India. It is really welcome feature, but there is no clarity in the proposal. Yes, which type of universities are going to be invited? If it is totally a private universities, which are all globally ranked universities, I have my own reservation. How far the first generation student, after getting graduated or getting qualified with research, will be admitted in those institutions, because certainly there will not be any reservation for admission of student, and there will not be no reservation for the appointment of faculty as well, unless there is going to be a participation of Indian students and Indian faculty. We cannot take it as a holistic program which will give chance for improving the overall development of higher education. And finally, my observation, due to time factor, I don't want to take much. Obviously, India is a very big country with regional, social, economic, cultural, and geographical variations. Therefore, it is difficult to create one homogeneous system where every student can get a similar education and facility. I am of the opinion that it will be a challenge to implement the national education policy as given content in such a setting. Nevertheless, there are hurdles and bottlenecks in implementing certain schemes and programs given in the policy. To conclude, although National Education Policy 2020 aims to bring a holistic change in the education system of India, there are substantial changes, both quantitative and qualitative, in implementing the reforms. Now, the responsibility is not only with the Ministry of Education and the University Grants Commission, but also every stakeholder to understand the ingredients and the spirit of the policy and work to fulfill its aim by developing a practical, realistic, and workable roadmap for its implementation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for elucidating the purpose of this national level conference with your introductory remarks. Now, I have the pleasure of inviting the chief guest of this inaugural session, Honorable Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj. Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj is the advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, Bengaluru. A warm welcome to you, sir. He has over 28 years of teaching and education and administrative experience. He was teaching statistics in Christ College in Bengaluru and Loyola College in Chennai. He was taking care of the internal quality assurance cell in higher education institutions and second cycle of National Assessment and Accreditation Council. He has visited over 350 universities for academic purpose and been a globetrotter, frequently traveling between Europe, Central Asia, Far East, and Australia. He is also a trained assessor for Confederation of Indian Industries, European Foundation for Quality Management, Tata Educational Excellence Model, and Malcolm Baldrige Educational Excellence Model. Now, I request our chief guest, Honorable Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, to deliver his address. Over to you, sir.
So is it visible?
Affirmative, sir. Your presentation is visible.
Yeah. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Most honorable and respected the Chancellor of AMET, Dr. J. Ramachandran ji. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
My good old friends, Colonel Dr. G. Tiruvasagam. Namaskar. And our EC members are there around. Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, who will be coming for valedictory. former Vice Chancellor of BPS University, as well as Secretary General and former EC Chairman, Professor Dinesh Singh, Vice Chancellor of Delhi, and our current EC member, Professor R.P. Tiwari Sahab from the Central University, Punjab, Bathinda. We have Rajan Valukar from the University, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Mumbai, Professor Aditya Shastri, and Dr. Mamta Rani Agarwalji, and Waris Rao, and Professor P. Kaliraj from Bardiyar University. The chief of guest, the guest of honor and special address by the Indian Maritime University Vice Chancellor, Honorable Malini V. Shankar, IAS retired. And all the Vice Chancellors across the country, I see a lot of Vice Chancellors across the country, registrars, professors, deans, directors, people who are watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as on the platform Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard enough, as told by the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor, about both sides of the policies after 34 years. I will try to restrict myself with few thought processes in this inaugural session with the legendary speakers. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks to Professor S.C. Sharma, my director NAC. And I'll just make a little couple of slides. I've given half an hour time, but I'll try to take less than 20 minutes. I'll try to cut short and rush through the presentation. And most of you are aware of it. From 400 odd pages of the 2019 draft, which people would have gone through upside down with the feedback and the approval by the late July last week by the Cabinet, Government of India. People gone through fully, and enough of webinars are happening, sometimes face-to-face and online. Dual mode webinars are happening. International, I've been in international, people are watching and asking, and we are trying to see. I look at a view from the Government of India perspective. Since I represent NAC, I look at the strategies for implementation in this style. Let me put it across little, people say it's the basic things, but still I thought, let me impress upon the audience, what is a nation, how a nation can advance, why we talk about OECD countries, why we talk about developed countries, what is the development when a 4x4 highway comes or an 8-way highway comes, or especially in a maritime language when we wanted to speak, how we advance. It is based on the intelligentsia spread among the masses. Very well said by the people who have set the tone. This is where I wanted to quote Swami Vivekananda. Everybody is aware of that. 17 SDGs, wonderful document, beautiful document. Not only the fourth, the kind of a pillar we talk about, but the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the General Assembly of the United Nations on 2015 on the Resolution 71. The policy reflects in the letter and spirit by our Kasturi Rangan Professor G. The fundamental principles, we talk about conceptual clarity. We talk about, let me give an example of cell biology. It can be a second standard student or a 10th standard or a MSc plant physiology, PhD in biotechnology, or a MD in microbiology. Immaterial, we talk about a simple concept called unicellular, multicellular. What is a living organism? What is the definition of a living organism? What is the unit of a living organism? For this, a science student, a history student, or an archaeology, anybody can reflect. This is where the policy talks about conceptual clarity. Clarity in concepts. It can be in navigation. It can be applied to any part of the field. I try to talk about more than higher education and tertiary education and further education and ODL and online education. The focus is on school education. Otherwise, everybody talks about the schools, the government schools, the aided schools, the tribal schools, reaching the unreached. There was a mention about every district is having a higher education institution as far as possible, thousands of students across. Now this national curricular pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education, 3 years to 5 years, 6 years to 8 years. It is one of the most welcome step. People can criticize, no. A student is not supposed to hold a pencil or a chalk or whatever. We can talk a slate or kind of talk about neurology and all those things. So the age factor has been built up. This is the only policy which talks about, which builds upon the earlier policy, which doesn't contradict any of the earlier policies. It talks about timelines. 2020, 2021, 22, 25, 2030, 2025, 2030, 2040, 2050. It talks about timelines. Very important, it talks about the national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy, the basics of mathematics, foundational literacy. And this will be directly monitored by the Ministry of Education very closely. They talk about the basic 3 R's. People ask us, a lot of people ask, sir, it is not there in Kothari Commission, sir, it is not there in NEP, the NP 1992 or the POA 1992 or not in 1986. Yes, it is there. We talked about implementation. We talked about the strategies of the concurrent list, how to go with the states, union territories, reaching the unreached with the tribals, with Jammu and Kashmir, with Leh Ladakh, Churu in Rajasthan, people who are living in minus and 50 degrees centigrade with hot climates, geography of India. People try to understand the same E is equal to MC square, A plus B whole square. They try to read. But how far that uniformity has been sunk into in reading, writing, arithmetic to 3 hours. Recruitment of teachers, fundamentals. There was a question also, how do you get local teachers? எல்லாமே தமிழ்ல டிரான்ஸ்லேட் தமிழ் யூனிவர்சிட்டி வச்சு தமிழ்ல பண்ண முடியுமா இல்ல ஹிந்தி யூனிவர்சிட்டி அந்தராஷ்டிரிய யூனிவர்சிட்டி in Varda, or for that Canada University here in Bangalore, or Malayalam Eduthan University? How to translate the technicalities of the language? Science, technical aspects, engineering aspects, medical aspects. And we want local teachers, very important. If people are in Madurai are there, it is not about Madurai. The people who speak the local language. Local language does not mean vernacular. It is not Tamil alone. Very important. When you talk about Bangalore, it is not about Bangalore, who speaks Kannada, or for that matter in Gujarat. The local, that does not mean the slang. The local language. So the teachers are comprising of local. Then suddenly people ask about for debate for inbreeding. What happens for other people to come in? This is, we talk about the recruitment of school education. People who should be familiar. Now the implementation question comes about teacher vacancies should be filled. This is where the state and center takes care of it. Now there was a mention about the people teacher ratio, what we call PTR. For the PG programs in higher education, tertiary education, there is a UGC norm. We talk about the university norm. Senior vice chancellors understand and all the faculty understand this. So for the schools, we talk about 25 children in each class with maximum technology. Amidst of all the technology, His Excellency, the former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, talks about Pura, providing urban facilities to rural areas. Amidst of that, the people-teacher ratio, the one-to-one interaction, whether it's PhD, MPhil, use technology, use webinar, use all types of technologies. So the PTR matters a lot. When people go abroad for Oxford, Cambridge, people talk about PTR. People talk about postdoctoral fellowship, and even among the PhD scholars or MPhil scholars and about the research scholars, how they have one-to-one PG students, graduates. We talk about a national repository of high-quality resources for foundational literacy. Now, this is where we talk about dropouts. There's a mention about dropouts. Rural people, tribal people who cannot even, people say there are enough people who don't have enough food. How do we take care of them? When you talk about in a higher level of thinking, higher order thinking. So the civil society organizations and Department of Social Justice and Empowerment of the state, district, and Government of India will work with close collaboration with the Empowerment of Persons PWD so that to curtail the dropouts. People say, sir, it is easy to talk, how we are going to implement. Country has seen the implementation over the policies. So it is still 12th standard. We will try to get into it. Now, a lot of criticism comes about the words. Whenever I go, people talk about a lot of criticism about the words. Socio-economically disadvantaged groups, comprising of all AC, ST, OBC, MBC, category 1, 2, 2A, PWD, including the minorities, religious minorities, linguistic minorities, reaching out to the NIS, National Institute of Open Schooling and the state schools. Every state will be encouraged to open institutes of open schooling. So this is how we curtail dropouts. Now the Global Citizenship Education is also planned to develop various skills. The National Skill Development Corporation, National NSDC, NSDF, Government of India has defined. Otherwise, people ask, what is a skill? What is the core competencies? There was a mention about the choice-based credit system. Can we leave the course? Somebody is doing MTech in embedded design or a MSc in operation research. So we talk about choice-based credit system, interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, multidisciplinarity. Can an MSc OR degree can be obtained without any of at least the minimum core credits? Talking about interdisciplinarity. All are well defined. Like Professor Colonel said, last so many years, autonomous colleges, IITs, IIMs, they talk about credit transfer, they talk about credit system, they talk about OGPA, they talk about CGPA, with various skills embedded along with core skills, additional application oriented. This is where the crux of the story of NEP comes, value system. They talk about Indian values, talk about constitutional values, global citizenship on human values. Sir, how to inculcate this in LKG or MSc or BTech in maritime engineering or a marine, whatever you can talk about. Whether we can give a certificate, whether we can diploma, post-diploma, postgraduate diploma, advanced diploma, pre-diploma, or the teachers are supposed to have in a one-to-one in a classroom situation. Assistant professor, associate professor, deans, directors, assistant registrars. Sacrifice. How do you inculcate tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous conduct? Or TC venue, sorry for my vernacular language, in a school or a college. We talk about how many minutes it takes for a boy or a girl to get TC. How far your non-teaching staff, your supporting staff, your technical staff are cooperating. Otherwise, go to the library, get note use, go to the hostel, get note use, go and meet the dean, go to the refund section. Whether it's a self-financing university or a private university or a state private university or a deemed to be university, state university, central university, or a simple college. We talk about all these things. When you talk about implementation, it is not only the government, it is every institution has to cooperate. Respect for the elders, gender sensitivity. Gender is not about women to women, men to men, transgender to transgender. A transgender understanding a woman understanding a men understanding a woman. On the leadership, respect for all people, regardless of the background, rich or poor, learned or unlearned. How do we respect? How do we honor human values? Respect for the environment. So we do green audit. We have planted some 10,000 saplings. Okay, that is enough for environment. How do you inculcate these values of environment, helpfulness, courtesy, patience, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, patriotism? On the democratic values, integrity of a person. We talk about Gandhian values. We talk about values, human values. Whatever the religious values you all have, immaterial we have, I have, we have as a country, immaterial of caste, creed, and religion. The value system, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. How do we inculcate among the children? Then we talk about the higher order thinkings. So the modus operandi will be NCRTs and SCRTs. Gifted children will be encouraged and TETs. If you do not recruit a good teacher in a school or a college, I quote unquote, someone said you're spoiling 38 generations. Let it be maritime education, let it be any education for that matter. A wrong teacher in a wrong place. This is where recruitment has a huge impact on pedagogy, research, output. So we talked about National Professional Standards for Teachers. There is a comprehensive framework of the National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, and it shall be done by NCERT on 2021 under the General Education Council. Coming to the higher education, talks about light but tight. So many people ask, what is a single regulator, sir? Is it a monopoly? So why a single regulator? So what is light? What is tight, sir? Whether it is useful for privatization, whether the private universities and private deemed to be universities or private colleges will be, whether it is useful or helpful. Three types of universities they talk about: research intensive universities, teaching intensive universities, and multidisciplinary educational research universities, MIRU. MIRU they talk about, equivalent to IITs, IIMs. So what is these three things which they talk about? Research means 50-50. Intensive more than 50. Teaching universities also will do research. but not above 50%. Similarly, for all colleges, all will be degree awarding. There was different committees where the UGC people are aware of the UGC University Grants Commissions and committees which talks about many things. Every college, sir, it is a very, very high thinking, sir. 50,000 colleges, 993 universities, all colleges and universities will have international students. Where there is a will, there is a way. Your vision, we talk about vision, we talk about dreams. So we wanted to have every college to have an international students office, every university to have an international students office to facilitate. Why? To talk about Indology, to talk about Indian languages, Ayurveda, Siddha, Siddha Vaidyam, Siddha, Naturopathy, Yoga, Occupational Therapy, Unani, Homeopathy, Medicine, Arts, Music, History, Archaeology, Culture, Yoga, and Modern Indian. Very important to talk about the courses. I see many foreign students coming to Madurai, some of the colleges to learn on the exchange program, semester-in program. So many programs. So why don't we make everyone? Let us try. Let us see in another 30, 50 years, where is the global village? Where is the boundaries are getting, the borders are getting opened. The autonomous granting colleges, all colleges will become autonomous and they will start giving degrees. Then the responsibility is the management, the government, with the regulatory agency, monitoring agency. If the boy or a girl do not find a job, do not find the core competencies, then automatically things may not stand. There is no quality, people will not stand, people will not recruit. Give them a free hand. So the prime agenda for the colleges to teach undergraduate, but they will also teach postgraduate, PhD, postdoc, DSc, DLit, and research. This transition, the time based on they are given graded autonomy. We talk about by 2040 multidisciplinary, one district, which the Chancellor J. Ramachandran talked about this. About every district or the near district to have a school or a college, and they talk more about the higher education. Here comes 2035. We talked about Professor Yashpal's committee, and we talked about even our the committee about where we talk about GER on the National Knowledge Commission. Sam Pitroda's committee talking about 6% to 20%. Now from 26.3, Tamil Nadu may be higher, Meghalaya may be higher, Kerala may be higher. National average 26.3 to 50% by 2035, where the GDP is involved. And academic bank credit, where people can move from one state to other state. One university, Bharatiyar University to Madras University, they ask for migration. Sir, what is your MSc degree, whether it is equivalent or not? No, sir, he has come from Vilnius University. He has done MS in design engineering. Okay, go to Association of Indian Universities, 16 Kotla Mark, madam will be there, and you get an equivalent certificate. All the policy is very, very visionary. They talk about academic bank credit. They talk about the revision. This is where Colonel Thiruvasakam talked about academic flexibility for students. And there'll be a national mission like NAC, National Mission on Mentoring, like SSA, RMSA, National Higher Education Mission, RUSA, and National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education involving industries and ministries across Government of India. This is where the structure come into picture. These are the last 3 slides which I am closing. Ladies and gentlemen, National Higher Education Regulatory Council, like our CEC or like our, one commission. We are talking about HECI, Higher Education Council of India. The 4 comes into National Education, Higher Education Regulatory, single. All are autonomous, 4 are autonomous. Then comes National Higher Education Grants Council. Immediately people ask, sir, NAC, when the NAC when NAAC will become NAC, UGC will become HEGC. Sir, what is General Education Council? Everybody understands after July, when the Honorable Cabinet approved, then it takes a shape. 1986 policies took 6 years. Now government is working very fast to implement it. So the gazette will come, the rules and regulations will come, implementation will come. All the seminars which are written by the Honorable Secretary, University Grants Commission, by the Commission Chairperson, DP Singh ji, Rajneesh Singh, they all will be trying to get feedback. Government is very open enough. So all the feedback on implementation based on this conference also will be taken care of. Now to close with, under the GEC, we have the National Higher Education Qualification Framework and National Skills Qualification Framework. People talk about internationally, what is the qualification framework, where the countries is having whether all the bodies will be subsumed. What will happen to Medical Council of India, Dental Council of India, Indian Council for Agricultural Research, Indian Council for Medical Research? What will happen to ACTE, NBA, professional standard setting bodies? How they will become? This is where the school talk about BEO, cluster, DEO, district education. Everybody will be given powers to implement the policies in the right perspective. And all the SSSA, State School Standards Authority, SSSA for each state and union territory will be ensure all certain minimal professional quality standards are happening. And SCRT in consultation with different stakeholders, parents, alumni, management, கலந்துரையாட வேண்டும். This is very essential. We talk about state assessment accreditation framework. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for the vernacular, one or two words. Forgive me for that. Where is the quality assurance concerned? Cluster resource center, block resource center, diets will do all into working for institutional excellence. The work culture is 3 years time it should be implemented. There will be each college and university will have a board of governors. That board of governors will appoint eminent expert group, eminent expert committee. That board of governors under the structure is defined, and they will build an IQAC like IDP, institutional development plan. And they will talk about growth, assessment, public disclosure policy of Government of India. You disclose yourself, public funding, quality assurance, growth and participation. This is where it talks about the accreditation. I come from NAC, so everybody talks about National Assessment Accreditation Council. There will be one accreditation body, where under that, nowadays we have NBA, NAEB and Quality Council of India. People are aware of what are the accreditation bodies in India. But in a timely manner with consultations, like different models, AI will be there. Accredited institutions, they will accredit all the institutions. Like somebody is having a mobile phone, you can have a different chip. You can have Jio, you can have BSNL, you can have Airtel, Aircel, and why not, what not, all. So freedom is given to the institution. Maybe they'll thought about in the implementation stage. So the accreditation basic norms are public disclosure, good governance. How do you govern yourself? Otherwise, people keep on writing anonymous petitions, pseudonymous petitions, different court cases, tribunals. For everything, people go to the honorable, so Supreme Court of India. People tell them, the honorable judges are telling, kindly sort among yourself. For everything, do not, precious time is getting wasted. So how people talk about small things, how do you govern yourself? Very important about the meta accreditation, meta governance. There will be a national achievement survey, student achievement survey, state achievement survey, and there will be an autonomous national educational technological forum, and Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation for all languages will be done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish this conference a mega success, and all the recommendations will be placed through proper channel, can be placed before. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All I could say is mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. And we can see the fire and passion in your inaugural address, sir. You have set the tone for the rest of the conference. Thank you so much for your inaugural address, sir.
Thank you, Captain Karthik.
Thank you, sir. Really.
Thank you.
Now may I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Malini V. Shankar Madam, the guest of honor for today's inaugural session, to deliver the special address. I am indeed delighted to introduce Madam to every one of the participants here. Madam is the Vice Chancellor of the Indian Maritime University, Chennai. She's an IAS officer of the 1984 batch Maharashtra cadre. Formerly, she was the Directorate General of Shipping, where she created so many reforms to improve the quality of maritime education and training. She was nominated by the International Maritime Organization as an honorary member of the Board of Directors of the World Maritime University. Madam has obtained a doctoral degree in Institutional Economics from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and management degree from the Asian Institute of Management, Manila, Philippines. Madam was also selected in February 2020 as one of the 7 global recipients of the AAA award by the Asian Institute of Management, Manila, Philippines. She is the first Indian woman to receive this award. I am delighted to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Malini V. Shankar Madam, to deliver the special address. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm introduction. Dr. J. Ramachandran, Dr. Tiruvasakam, Dr. Ponmudi Raj, esteemed Vice Chancellors of universities, and members of the academia. It is my pleasure to share a few thoughts with you this morning. I will start with shipping. Shipping generates $500 billion US by way of freight rates alone. It moves about 90% of the world trade in the seas. The decade-based trends show that increase in world trade has been propelled by developing countries. India, a multinational seafaring force of about 1.7 million or 17 lakhs drives a mammoth 1.9 billion global trade tonnage. And India contributes 9 to 10% of the global seafaring force. Across the globe from the Far East to the Americas, Indians occupy key positions, especially at the middle and top management level. The national education policy envisages the introduction of a 4-year undergraduate degree with multiple entry and exit options, taking MPhil out of the system. It seeks to address salient shortcomings in the existing system, namely low emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes, limited teacher and institutional autonomy, inadequate mechanisms for merit-based career management and progression of faculty and institutional leaders, low emphasis on research at most universities and colleges, lack of competitive peer-reviewed research funding across disciplines, and suboptimal governance and leadership of higher education institutions. The policy's vision inter alia, as we all know, includes key changes to the current system and those pertinent to the maritime education, relevant to maritime but also relevant to every single higher education institution include: 1. Revamping the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support for enhanced student experiences. 2. Reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership positions through merit appointments and career progression based on teaching, research, and service. And 3. Increased access, equity, and inclusion through a range of measures, including greater opportunities for outstanding public education, scholarships for disadvantaged and underprivileged students, online education and open distance learning, and all infrastructure and learning materials accessible and available to learners with disabilities. In the field of maritime, India has over 150 maritime training institutions, what we call MTIs, and most are focused on training for sea-going careers. Institutions such as the Indian Maritime University and AMET University offer a range of domain-related programs spanning nautical sciences, marine engineering, ocean engineering, and maritime management. The curriculum, while it meets with the requirements of the regulators both at the national and international level, perhaps deserves more intense review for its connect with industry expectations. Similarly, the teaching methodologies and learning methodologies are in need of constant evolution and upgradation. The pandemic and ensuing virtual learning have highlighted the need for teachers to be alert, to be innovative, and to be agile. An area of concern vis-a-vis the National Education Program will be the teacher requirement planning forecasting issue. Maritime education and training is largely dependent on the industry rather than on academicians for higher education training. This is true for preparing youth for both seagoing as well as for shore-based careers. While this adds strength to knowledge dissemination, the downside could be that the professional is not groomed to be a teacher or a knowledge disseminator. Training the trainer while engaged in the profession will be a good strategy to adopt to develop a capable pool of future teachers. An area of common concern from the perspective of industry and national interest is the low level of involvement in research activities. India cannot be just a service and manpower provider. Her position must be strong, must be amongst the innovators, researchers, and solution providers for the society at large. Maritime education and training can be seen under two distinct careers, the seagoing career and the shore-based career. When it comes to holistic education as enunciated in the National Education Policy, topics could include studies pertaining to environment, pollution management, waste management, marine surveying, marine insurance, port management, and the like. These can be assimilated in both seagoing and shore-based training. Incubation centers and startup support in maritime-related areas should be a dimension that institutions should dream for and plan for. The Maritime Vision 2030 draft sets ambitious goals and KPIs with a major thrust towards maritime research and the development of centers of excellence. KPIs include indexed publications, Indian universities finding a place among the top 25 global maritime universities, increase in industry-backed collaborative research work, and of course, increase in India's share of global seafaring force. The document also identifies more than 50 research areas. In this context, as the Chancellor of the AMET University has mentioned, AMET is already reported to be among the top 3 or top 5 global maritime universities. Joining forces and being part of the knowledge clusters could enhance the interdisciplinary teaching and research and enhance the learning and teaching methodologies too. I would like to share a few thoughts in the context of education. 20 years ago, unemployment was a key issue debated in many circles. My insights were that it is not a question of unemployment, but a question of employability. Surveys and studies have shown, and they showed at that time, that a bare 17% of the engineering graduates were truly employable. Since then, these figures may have only worsened and reported to have gone down to below 10%. I recall that serious exporting companies, which at that time I was working in the special economic zone, preferred to hire ITI diploma graduates and not BEs and BTechs, as they said that the ITI graduates were willing to dirty their hands. Many times we've heard the refrain when we ask a student about certain questions in interviews or in normal conversation. They say, this was out of syllabus, or it's been a long time since I studied that topic. These issues have rankled my mind for many years, and it is time we address them. A few years later, when I was heading a highly competent water resources or irrigation department, I found that barely 5% of the fresh recruits had the ability to independently draft an estimate for a simple 10-meter bridge across a narrow stream. And those 5% who could actually do so had worked in the field for a couple of years. This was not the case earlier, in few decades earlier, when the engineers freshly out of institutions could actually lead the departments in government and outside. Attaining 50% NIR will not be it will not be very difficult, but the more arduous task will be to ensure that they are prepared to face the challenges of the working world and to add value to the organization, to the nation, and most of all, to themselves too. Education today needs to focus on key aspects, a strong foundation in the area of conceptual learning, and I think Dr. Ponmudi Raj had highlighted this very well. A strong foundation in critical thinking, analytical ability, clarity of thought and expression, precise communication, because we live in a world where communication skills are as important as the knowledge skills. A quest for knowledge and a thirst for lifelong erudition. The National Education Policy is a major reform in the right direction, but policies and legislation alone cannot achieve their true objectives. It is the man behind the machine that makes the machine work. It is the educational institutions, the commitment of educational leaders and the faculty that will help realize the desired outcomes of the policy. And this was made extremely clear by the highly spirited presentation by Dr. Ponmudi Raj. And I think if we can imbibe from this session that what you need is, besides the policy and the enabling factors, the spirit, the enthusiasm and the passion with which we implement the NEP, it is bound to be a success. I will end with a quote from Thiruvalluvar, who said, "Orumaikkan thaan katra kalvi oruvarukku ezhumayum ஏமாப்ப உடைத்தது." In brief, it says what a person has learned in one lifetime is going to help him in 7 lifetimes. Or to quote Alvin Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And this is a very essential quote, very valid. Alvin Toffler wrote it several decades ago, but it's valid. I felicitate AMET University for organizing this conference, and I'm sure that the deliberations of today will be enriching and enable effective implementation of the national education policy. Once again, I thank the organizers for having invited me to share my views, and I wish the conference all success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam. It was an inaugurating address from your end. As usual, the maritime industry cannot forget the reforms that you have made during your time as Director General of Shipping and to improve the quality of education. And we teachers, we strive to evolve. And you was rightly touched up during the pandemic. We have gone beyond our comfort zones. And we do believe without teachers, life would have no class. Thank you so much, Madam, for your address. I
Thank
would
you.
like to say that now the inaugural session of this national level conference on recommendations and strategies to the implementation of national education 2020 has come to an end.